Hey, it's Grant. Before the show starts today, I want to tell you about Hangover Destroyer. Hangover Destroyer is the only all-natural product medically proven to prevent a hangover. If you like to drink at night and be able to think in the morning, one shot of Hangover Destroyer lets you have all the fun and no side effects. Go to Hangover Destroyer's website, that's hdestroyer.com, write Happy Hour in the coupon code, and get 30% off your order of Hangover Destroyer and seize the dawn. Happy Hour again from Uptown New Orleans. Hello, I'm Grant Morris. Happy Hour is part of the family of shows on the podcast network. It's neworleans.com, brought to us in part today by Petite Pet Care. If you're going out of town or you have a schedule that keeps you away from home, the folks at Petite Pet Care understand that some pets are fine going to a kennel or doggy daycare, especially if they're a dog, but others prefer the comfort of their own home for loving care when you're not there. Petite Pet Care are the folks to call, and you can find them at petitepetcare.com. When you walk into a bar in New Orleans and you pull up a bar stool, you never know who's going to be sitting on either side of you. What you do know is no matter what they look like, what they're wearing, whether they just got out of a limo or just got out of jail, they're going to be happy to talk to you, because that's New Orleans, and this is Happy Hour, a cocktail-fueled 60 minutes of random conversation with folks who have nothing in common other than we're all New Orleans in a bar. In this case, we're at Wayfare on Ferret Street. I know I've told you many times on this show, if you're a regular listener, that Wayfare is a restaurant and bar that serves handcrafted food and spirits, where Chef Kevin White puts fine dining into a sandwich. And what I normally say at this part of the show is, and if you think that's some sort of a bullshit slogan, I'll tell you something about Chef Kevin White. Well, I'm not going to tell you anything about him today because he's here himself. Chef Kevin, hello.
Hello.
Thanks for joining us. Now, what I normally say is that what you've done, you're a fine dining chef who's moved here from New York, and you put fine dining into a sandwich.
Yes.
Which is an accurate description, correct?
Very.
And I see you've bought a sandwich for us all to try today, or brought, I should say. So tell us about what it is, and I think that will give everyone the idea of what I've been talking about all this time.
Today's sandwich is a melanzani, which is an eggplant lasagna, more or less. And what I did was take the idea of the eggplant lasagna and put it on a sandwich. So it is fried eggplant with fennel aioli, salsa verde, zucchini, squash, fresh tomato, basil puree, and then on top of that I put my house-pulled mozzarella. I make my own mozzarella.
Oh my gosh.
I also make everything in-house from scratch, as I'm sure you've mentioned before, from potato chips to pickles to, I do my own charcuterie. All my meat on the meat board is made in-house, so everything is very much from scratch. And on that sandwich is put on, I failed to mention this raisin brioche, which gives it a nice, sweet, soft, buttery texture.
Get out of here.
Okay, we have to try a bit.
Tell me how long it takes to make mozzarella. Yeah.
It's about a half-hour to 40-minute process, depending on how fresh the curd is, the mozzarella curd.
Right.
So you work from this basic block of unhomogenized cheese, and what you do is pour boiling water on it, and you start pulling it until it becomes homogeneous.
Wow.
And then you just squeeze it. Mozzarella comes from the verb mozzicare, which means to cut.
Yeah.
So you pull it to get it homogeneous, but then you actually cut it with your finger to make the bowl. You make the bowl, cut it, and that's how you end up with your mozzarella.
There you go. How to make mozzarella in one easy lesson. Try it at home.
Wow.
So here we go. Here's the sandwich to try. And even if you think that description sounds like you might understand what it is, wait till you taste it. So what I'm going to tell you now, I'm going to introduce you to my guests sitting around the table here. They're all called Sarah. So don't worry about distinguishing one voice from another. Every single person sitting at this table is called Sarah, and also just waiting for one other guy called James to show up. Oh, no, Jason, I'm sorry. Whoops. Jason to show up. And in the meantime, try, Sarah Jane, try some of the sandwich.
Gosh, it smells so good.
I know, it is. Doesn't it look awesome?
This is kind of like everything of my favorite.
Okay.
Everything that you've ever wanted in a sandwich.
Other two Sarahs, try that.
It looks really good, but I'm a vegan.
Oh, my goodness.
I'm glad you have some
Oh.
vegetarian items on your menu.
What do you think, Sarah Jane? This is Sarah Jane McMahon.
I want the other Sarah Jane.
I'll take a chip.
This is Sarah Jane Quintana. And this is Sarah Reagor, who's sitting in for Andrew Duhon.
Oh, my God.
What do you think, people?
That was delicious.
Graham, you want to try a bit?
Wow.
What do you think?
Zucchini
Awesome, right?
with the pesto, the basil aioli, is it?
Basil puree.
Oh my God!
Yes.
And then
That
the fresh mozzarella.
Looks great.
That is amazing.
There you go, Chef Kevin.
Very
Another
good.
triumph.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Very good.
Thank you so
We're
much.
going to finish it off. So, Sarah Quintana, you're a vegan.
For the most part, but every once in a while I eat my grandma's crawfish bisque.
Thanks, Kevin. You do. How often?
Like Christmas, but
Right.
she just turned 90, so it's a rarer treat. But I have a weakness for Louisiana seafood, particularly with my
Right.
family.
Okay. Now, where is your family from?
Louisiana.
What part of Louisiana? Up north somewhere?
Well, my grandmother's from Bayou Gula, which is in Plaquemine Parish, and she moved here in the 30s to go to nursing school at Hotel Dieu.
Oh, wow.
And my dad is from New Orleans, and my mom grew up here, but she's from Puerto Rico. It's where she was born or raised or something. And she traveled all over, and her people are from Nova Scotia.
Oh, wow.
Well, that really is a polyglot
You
mix.
have people from all over.
But French, mostly.
Right.
Well, that's something of your family. Let me tell the rest of you about Sarah Quintana herself. Sarah's a New Orleans singer-songwriter with a background steeped in jazz, folk, and popular music. Sarah attended the New Orleans Center for Creative Arts, NOCA, and graduated from Loyola University with a degree in English and French, and these days splits her time between the US and France. Is that because you learnt French at college?
Well, I was telling Sarah Jane that I
Move in.
play with a saxophone player in France, but this summer I didn't go to France, and there was a lot of strikes in the performance industry. So
Really?
I actually I think I traveled a little bit in the region, but I duked it out.
Like rock and roll musicians are on strike?
It's not quite the same as our system. If you are a musician in France, you're considered you're not self-employed. You're intermittent, which means you have a job, you have social security, you have all the rights of anybody working in any profession in France. It's very socialized in that way.
You mean if you get up in a bar and play in France, you get health insurance?
Basically, it's a lot of paperwork. The downside to being intermittent.
Do you have to be any good? Could I do it?
I mean, I would love to do it.
I
Let's
can
move
play
to
3
France.
chords. Yeah. Sarah, you play.
I could do
you play,
Crackhead
You wrote
Fred.
Crackhead Fred, the
And
big
you
hit
could
from
do,
middle school.
You could do the, dance
could-
moves in the back.
Yeah.
Roger
and,
Rabbit
and we get
and the
health
Running
insurance.
Man. Hell yeah.
Awesome. Okay.
You might have a shot, but you have to play 40 gigs in like a 7-month period to prove that it's your livelihood.
problem.
And
got
then you
that.
have to
40
basically
gigs.
fill out a lot of paperwork, and
Yes.
I love
if you can
paperwork.
meet all the
Sarah
requirements.
can fill out the paperwork for us.
But their system is becoming more like ours, so a lot of the rights and the benefits to being a
What do you
performer
mean like
are
ours? You mean totally fucked up?
well, I guess the reason why the performance industry was on strike is because it's not just the performers, it's the sound and light engineers, it's the technicians, it's everybody that has anything to do with production. They're all the same statute, intermittent, just like here we're like intermittent, which means a
Sarah
performer.
Jane, you speak French, don't you, as well?
Of course.
Can you say that word
Une
next?
baguette.
Intermittent.
Whoa.
Intermittent.
How do you spell it?
Intermittent.
Intermittent. What does
But
it mean?
I think that they, in this battle, I think
Here
that
comes the
they
sandwich back again. Yes.
they ended up
Thank you,
not
Graham.
canceling everything because the festivals and everything depend, the cities and everyone depends so much on all these jazz festivals in the summer.
Yeah.
So it's not just, even though
Well, hang on a sec. What are they going on strike to get? What do they want?
they want to be treated as equals, I guess, meaning the same benefits, social security, just as much vacation, just as much health coverage and
You're
other
a musician
things
and you
is-
only have to play 40 gigs a year.
It's not quite
and you
a
get
year.
vacation.
It's hard to
I mean,
compare
that's
their
pretty good.
system
I
to
am
ours.
moving.
That's
We
pretty
have a
cool.
completely different system, but over there,
I know.
it's respected. It's normal, just like being a waiter is respected. It's totally a respectable profession that you work.
Well,
You should be
I
treated
respect
fairly.
musicians. We all respect musicians sitting around this table, don't we? Everyone respects musicians.
Absolutely.
Yes. But we don't expect them to get a 6. How many weeks vacation do you get if you're a musician? Over
Everyone
6
in
weeks?
France gets the same vacation, whether you're a musician or not. The government
It's like 6
the
6
government
weeks or something
withholds
crazy,
your
right?
salary so that you have a check and you have a train ticket
That's amazing.
to go on vacation.
I love that.
It's-
And a train ticket?
They make you go on vacation. You don't have a choice. It's
the
for your
fuck
health.
are you
Like, get
talking
the
about?
hell
The
outta
government
here.
withholds your salary as a musician.
It's part of your health.
I'm an interpretive dancer
agree
in
with that.
a bar. I'm dancing behind Crackhead Fred's song.
True.
40 gigs
Done.
a year.
But you
and I'm
can't be on
getting-
your feet all the time. You need to go relax on the beach.
You need to drink a little
I
a
do.
Mai Tai. You need to lay
Okay,
on
we're
the
all
beach.
moving to France. That's the end of that
Done
question.
deal.
And how did the strike work out?
Well,
did they get what they
the
wanted?
strike didn't work out that well, and unfortunately, the French system is mirroring the American system in a lot of ways. Things are becoming privatized, not to poo-poo on corporations or to say that I have a certain political affiliation.
Do you?
But-
Are you a socialist?
I don't think I'm a socialist, but I'm a human doing, and I like to make my life
Human
as
doing.
wonderful as possible and the lives of
Okay.
others as wonderful as possible.
Okay.
I think everybody deserves health, education, and an equal chance at success.
Yes.
I'd like to join the human doing party.
Well, this is Jason Williams, who's actually a politician. So
Maybe he can make that happen
I
for
could be
everyone.
I could be the face of the human doing party.
I like that.
yeah. Could
I'll
you?
join the human doing party right now.
What is
Sign
it?
me up.
It's
What
a
are the-
nice looking face, y'all, too.
He's
Yeah.
a beautiful
Jason
man.
is a handsome
He's a
guy.
very handsome young
Yeah.
young
Thank you.
lad.
Let me
Look at
finish.
that, look at
Look,
that.
I have got to finish
Pen
these
on him.
introductions here. Hang on. I'm going to tell you some more about Sarah Quintana, who you're sitting next to, Jason. Normally, there she was saying she travels around France with Raphael Imbert. Is that his name?
Mm-hmm.
Who's a saxophone player, apparently. Correct?
Amazing.
Amazing saxophone player.
Yeah, he does a lot of fusion with classical and jazz. So one of his most recent projects is Mozart and Ellington arrangements, and his last one
like
was
Spinal Tap,
Coltrane
Mallington.
and Mozart, Ellington, Duke, what was it? Bach and Coltrane. So
Wow.
he has these string quartets play Bach, and then he does like John Coltrane style free improv over it, and it's gorgeous.
Can we listen to this
I-
dude's music somewhere? Is it on YouTube?
Most
Can we s-
definitely. He's
can we
very
steal
well
it?
known over there. He plays with
Raphael
Archie Shepp and
Imbert.
Archie's big band.
Imbert. Who's
Well,
big band?
I have a
Yes, Sarah.
question. In France, I traveled in France for a little while after college. The food is just exquisite. Have you found that? Did you find that? They put so much time and effort into
That's
their
a question?
food. I don't know.
Do you like the
It's
food
just
in
a
France?
comment.
What kind of a question is
It's
that?
amazing.
You
That
made
is
my mouth
ridiculous.
water.
Of course.
The baguette.
Try that
and just
sandwich.
Everything.
Try that
It's
sandwich.
unbelievable.
If you want to
I
try
want to
some
move
great
there
food.
just for the food.
Are you?
Seriously.
I'm moving there for the vacation
Well,
with my
yeah,
interpretive dance
that's
career.
you.
Okay, so here's the deal. Sarah's played across the country from Lincoln Center in New York to Jazz Fest in New Orleans, and her latest creation is called the Delta Demitasse, a partially written and partially improvised piece of music that pays homage to, or homage, I suppose, think it's French, right?
Homage.
To the strength and fragility of Louisiana's traditions and wetlands. So that's pretty interesting. We'll talk about that in a minute, shall we?
Sure.
That piece. I want to introduce you now to the other people around the table. Here's Sarah Jane McMahon. Hi,
Hello.
Sarah Jane.
Hello,
Hi.
hello.
Everyone's called Sarah or Sarah Jane. In fact, everyone's
We're
called,
all Sarahs.
everyone's a
with
Sarah.
an H.
Very confusing. Sarah Jane McMahon is a New Orleans native whose career as an opera singer has taken her around the world, after earning, including France, correct?
Correct. I
Yes.
was just in France,
Were you?
in Aix-en-Provence.
Was everyone on strike? Were you on
No.
strike?
No.
You were able
I-
to survive, okay?
I was singing in Italy, but I was on vacation. I vacationed in France after.
En vacances.
Yes.
Very nice.
I want to hang with these girls.
I know, this is a
Just I
star-studded...
vacationed in France,
We're-
and then
we
this
are
one I'm
to-
just traveling
We are
around
totally
France, and
out of
my
our depth
God.
here on today's show, Sarah.
Telling you
After
what.
earning a bachelor's in vocal performance from Loyola University here in New Orleans and a master's in vocal performance from Yale, Sarah Jane was selected by renowned tenor Placido Domingo. How do we pronounce that?
That's
actually?
correct.
Placido Domingo.
Yes.
To perform with him at the Los Angeles Opera. Boy, that's an interesting sentence. How did he find you?
Well, after Yale, I just basically applied to audition for him, and never in my wildest dreams did I think I'd get an audition because there were like 700 applicants.
Right.
And then they picked 50 from that, and I thought I was going to get to sing for him, but they tricked us, and of that 50, they picked 12, and only 12 of those applicants got to sing for him, but luckily I was one of the 12. So I sang for him, and then he asked me to sing with him in Los Angeles.
So out of
So it was kind of crazy.
700 people in the
Yeah.
United States of America who auditioned
I don't know how that
for Placido
happened.
Domingo, you're number one.
Well,
Because
I
you
would
must
say I
be
was,
awesome.
No,
I was,
don't be humble about it.
You're
Tell us the
number
truth.
one.
You
That's
are
impressive.
number one
I
out of
don't know.
700.
Well, no, I mean, I think he probably picked 2 others as well.
And what happened to those two?
Well, they went to
Mysterious.
Washington, D.C. And
Okay.
he picked them for Washington and me for Los Angeles.
Oh my God, wow,
So-
how amazing.
Wow.
And since then, of course, you've also performed leading roles with the New York City Opera, the Munich Philharmonic, the San Francisco Symphony, and you've performed on Broadway at Lincoln Center and Carnegie Hall.
Oh my God.
Wow, how about
That's
that?
unbelievable.
Can you believe it? I know, we are really, really honored to have you here. But it says here that your favorite performances are at home with the Louisiana Philharmonic and the New Orleans Opera, and your
Absolutely.
favorite role is Mommy to 9-month-old Caroline.
Oh,
And wife to New Orleans attorney Brandon Briscoe. That's one lucky guy.
Brandon Briscoe.
I'm the lucky one.
Really?
I am.
How
yes.
did you end up marrying an attorney of all things?
Oh, yeah.
Not a conductor or something exotic.
I think because he's a wonderful attorney, but he has wonderful hobbies of photography and gardening, and he loves music, so he has an artistic side to him. His major was journalism, so he's a wonderful writer, and even though he's an attorney for his profession, he just really appreciates what I do. Thank God. I never thought I'd find
Loyola
someone.
as well?
I'm sorry?
Did he go to Loyola as well?
No, he went to UNC in Chapel Hill, and then George Washington University.
Wow.
So what happens to baby Caroline while you're off at Lincoln Center?
Oh, she stays with
so-
grandmother.
Okay.
Grandmother and Grammy.
Wow.
I'm fortunate that both my parents and his parents live in town, so we have a lot of help. And
Town. So you still have a bit of a twang. I see.
yeah,
How
unfortunately.
How long are you
Yeah,
away
fortunately.
for?
Well, since she's been born, the longest I've been away from her is 5 days, but I have a trip coming up that's 2 weeks, and I'm already very anxious about it.
Oh.
I'm
She
worried
can't
about
go with
leaving
you?
her. Well, she does normally, actually, but since she's getting a little older now, it's just easier for her to stay home with my mom in New Orleans.
You can make up for it in lullabies. I would imagine.
That's right.
Oh, wow.
That's
Could you
right.
imagine being sung a lullaby if that's your mom?
Thinking about it.
Wow.
Yeah. That's the voice of Jason Williams, who is a New Orleans native as well, and also an attorney. Do you know Sarah Jane's husband?
I've heard the name. I have, as a matter of fact.
Well,
I took
I
great
can
offense when you said, "How on earth did you marry a lawyer?"
Oh, I know. And I've already been worried about this show today because I thought whatever I say, you're going to be able to out-talk me.
No.
Yes.
I'm spent. I just left the city council.
Oh, really?
I've got almost no words left.
Oh, my God. Thank God for that. Maybe I'll have a chance. Well, let me finish this and I'll tell you what I was thinking. Not only is Jason a New Orleans native and an attorney, he's most visibly, as he mentioned, a New Orleans City Council member at large. So that means you represent everybody, right?
That's correct.
So Jason is your council person, by the way. Here, okay?
It's a pleasure.
I am all of you's
meet
employee.
you.
Okay.
Absolutely correct.
So let's go around the table. What's your problem? Potholes?
Oh my God, I
Oh,
live in
Lord.
Lakeview.
Oh,
Definitely
wow.
Lakeview.
potholes.
So not streets, huh?
potholes.
No problem.
What's your problem in Lakeview?
Yeah.
Is that
Potholes.
Orleans
They're
Parish?
awful.
Potholes.
They're horrible. Have you ever seen a smart car? One of those little. You can literally fit an entire smart car into some of the potholes in Lakeview.
She's right.
I
She's not
swear.
lying.
Okay.
I'm serious.
Sarah Quintana, do you have anything you'd like to bring up with the council member? No complaints at all. But about the human doing issue.
I'm sad about shootings.
Yeah, that's
Really
a big
sad.
human doing issue.
It's hard to keep your head up
Yeah.
when you have to live in communities and wonder if your neighbor, their children are gonna, have a safe place to play.
Do you think the city
Yeah.
council can do anything about that?
I don't know. And I'm worried about the river and
The
about the
river.
wetlands, but I think that's more of a state issue.
That's more of a state issue. With regards to crime, though, I think that is a city council issue. I think it's a poverty issue that we haven't addressed in a very, very long time, probably 22 decades at least. And anytime there isn't a lot of opportunity and there's no chance of opportunity and no path to get there, then you're going to get frustration, and that's what's happening. Unfortunately, the police chief says that shootings are down, murders are down, but we have more shootings than ever. Sex crimes against women are higher than ever. We have one of the worst sex crimes units in the country. So that is a city council issue to hold those people accountable.
What do you mean we have one of the worst sex crime units? You mean the cops?
The cops. The rate and incidences of sexual assault is rising in New Orleans. In other places, it's going down. And then I don't know if any of you have heard the incident at the country club very recently. A woman was assaulted. She was given a date rape drug, and the police officers kept her on the scene for 6 hours and did not take her to the sane unit for testing, did not treat her like a victim. So, that's a problem. But it's poor training leads to poor prosecutions, which means someone will be left out on our streets to reoffend. So, that's an issue that we can deal with.
So who's responsible? Are you responsible for that?
The police chief is responsible, and I'm responsible for making sure that your tax dollars work.
Right.
So we're paying him, and if he's not getting the job done, then I'm responsible.
Well, how long is the police chief going to be giving a blank slate to keep going? do you think?
I
Just
think that
people
slate
keep
is.
complaining.
I think that slate's about up. If I was talking to my press secretary earlier. We were talking about the fact that a few years back the New Orleans Saints were known as the New Orleans Aints. We were one of the worst teams in the country, and now we are known as one of the best teams in the country.
Well, that's because we are one of the best teams in the country.
It is because we got the right coach.
Okay.
And so I think we need a change in leadership.
There you
That's
go.
Good.
That's
I
a
like
good
how
answer.
you put that. Yeah.
But how's it going to happen? Because the mayor seems to be intransigently holding on to.
He is. The city council, though, I can tell you, is not. We're a different body. We see it differently. We did not hire him. We're not pleased with the performance. So with 5
Okay.
votes, we can make a change.
Can we really?
Yes.
So 5 council people have to just. Oh, I thought the mayor hired the police chief at his pleasure, but
He
not
can't.
true.
He can't veto 5 votes.
Wow. And how have you got 5 votes?
I think so.
There we go.
Wow. Okay. Breaking news here on Happy Hour.
Oh my gosh.
Wait. Listen to the rest of
That's
this
at
thing.
Wayfare.
That's at Wayfare. So
Jason Williams.
Jason Williams was as a trial attorney as well, who has a reputation for taking cases that are deemed unwinnable and winning them.
Wow.
And that reputation is well earned, I suppose, because it's true as well, right? You do.
I do take some of the toughest cases around. I've actually tried some cases with Graham.
Our producer, Graham DePonte, used to be an attorney before she gave it all up to produce this lame-ass podcast.
Oh,
Isn't that crazy?
Low blow.
Not
Isn't that crazy?
Not lame at all. She once you accomplish everything you can accomplish in one field, you move on to the next.
That's true.
She did it.
I don't know how, we would not have a show without Graham. That's for sure. She puts this whole thing together every week.
So did y'all go to law
But she's
school together?
overqualified by she could be doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
She could.
She's a trial
She
attorney.
absolutely could.
Yeah.
She could be a judge. She could be on the council.
So you-
She's one of the sharpest.
I know.
One of the sharpest people I know.
I know, and we've got her working for us. It's incredible.
We're very lucky.
I know, we're so lucky, aren't
You
we?
see her a lot more than I do. I'm jealous.
Really? Well, you can come hang out with us every Thursday down here at
remember
Wayfare if you'd like. So, and also it says here that you work for the Innocence Project, which you've gotten people off. Sarah likes that because the Human Doing Party is part of the Innocence.
That's why I want to be the face of the human doing party.
I have,
Human
I have
doing
a
party.
friend that was released from solitary confinement
Oh, wow.
3 days before he passed away, Herman Wallace.
I remember Herman Wallace.
And I'm just so happy to meet you.
Yes. Well, I can tell you the Innocence Project is trying to.
I've
Trying
played
to
at your
make-
benefits too before.
It's a good party.
Yeah, it is.
But it's a party for a purpose. I mean, we have been able to exonerate a number of men. I mean, here in the South, we've got an exorbitant amount of people that are sitting in jail for a crime they didn't commit because of poor police work, shoddy prosecutions, bad prosecutions. But the Innocence Project, New Orleans, has helped to undo that. But I think we're going to have a big change in the DA's office very shortly. We're working on a prosecutorial integrity unit that will go back and look at old prosecutions to make sure so that once that evidence comes out, someone doesn't have to sit in jail another 5 years and lose more of their life.
Wow.
That's amazing.
That really is amazing. You're really doing some amazing stuff down there.
I'm part of the human doing party.
Human doing. Hey, talking about human doing. Sarah, what about playing us a song?
Well, it's perfect because my friend Jackie introduced me to Herman, and she did the project, The House That Herman Built.
Yes.
And it's
That's
such
awesome.
an inspiration in my life. And I wrote this song the day that we found out that Herman got
Wow,
released.
I'm
Oh my
excited to
goodness.
hear
What's it called?
It's called Almost Free.
that. Oh, wow.
Okay.
I'm gonna cry.
And he was in jail for a long, long time, that guy.
43 years in solitary
43.
confinement.
What was he in
Oh my
jail
goodness. I don't even remember because it's so irrelevant to who he is and his legacy, and I'm sure it was something silly that you can look up on the website. But that's the funny part about becoming friends with inmates. They're people, and a lot of their cases, if you look at the files, it's pretty silly. I mean, with no evidence whatsoever, just complete ridiculous stories that you hear, and then you get to know these individuals and find out how beautiful and interesting they are and how much of a load that they carry. So
Imagine being in jail for 43 years for something you didn't do.
imagine being like,
That's almost beyond understanding.
but he was such a great thinker and philosopher that he was able to put it into context of the greater good and to make a change, a positive change.
Well, we got a song out of it by the sound of it. So
Herman, I'm so like
here's a song
humbled to
for
play
Herman.
this song for you guys right now. Why don't you bring Kevin down for me? Little songbird, bring Kevin down. Why don't you bring Kevin down for me? My darling, bring Kevin down. They just called out my name, I'm going home. You know I've waited so long for this. I've waited so long. You know I've waited so long for this. My darling, I've waited so long. I can see those gates opening. I'm almost free. I'm almost free. I'm almost free. Ooh, I'm almost free. I'm almost free. You know you bring Kevin down for me, my darling, you bring Kevin down. You know you bring Kevin down to me, my songbird, you bring Kevin down. I needed someone to love and to love me. I'm going home. I'm almost free. I'm almost free. Ooh, I'm almost free. I'm almost free. Ooh.
I wouldn't mind just cancelling the rest of the show and you could just play for another 45 minutes.
I'd like if Sarah Jane would sing one.
Okay.
I don't know about that.
So we had Sarah Jane. Now let's get Sarah Jane.
Sarah Jane, what made you decide to sing opera and not sing something like that?
Oh gosh. Well, it's a good question because I never wanted to sing opera.
You didn't?
No, I did not. In
Wow.
fact,
Yeah, how did that
I
start out?
was determined not to sing opera. Well, I had grown up as a dancer. I did a lot of musical theater, and tap dancing was my big thing.
Wow.
So I didn't want to
Okay.
do opera because I didn't think I was going to be able to dance. Well, then, exactly.
There's not much tap in opera.
Exactly. No, I'm still waiting for that tap dancing opera to be written for me. But then in college, basically, I got a scholarship to study voice, and my parents. I'm the youngest of three girls, and so my dad said, "Oh no, you're going to stay home and go in state to school." So I wasn't rebellious. So I just said okay. So I stayed home. I went to Loyola. Long story short, that's where I met my voice teacher. And my freshman year, I fought doing opera. I did not want to do opera. Then my sophomore year, he said, "Oh, come on, audition for the opera." So I did, and then they gave me the lead as a sophomore, and I was just hooked.
Wow.
Wow.
It was such a big.
What
it
was
a-
that part? What was the first role you
It was
did?
called The Elixir of Love, and I was Adina, and it was just the biggest challenge of my life because
No kidding.
it's so difficult to sing, So that's how it happened, and then I was stuck on it.
Did you discover at some point that you're supremely talented at it? Were you shocked to find that out? I mean, you must be
Well,
one of the.
I mean, I've sung
The
my
best in
whole
the world.
life, but it wasn't. I guess, I don't know. I feel like when you're in this career, you can never think you're too good because they're just
There's
so,
always someone better than you, I
right,
suppose, and there's been
just-
incredible opera singers in the
they're
past.
it's so competitive. And
But you're in the sort of A-list leading role.
I hope so. Fortunately,
are.
I still have a nice career, so hopefully it'll keep going.
But does anybody in New Orleans know who you are? You can go to the supermarket and no one knows who the hell you are,
The
right?
paparazzi
Yeah.
follow her.
I mean, every once in a while, people stop me and say, "How do I know you? You look familiar." And so I usually say, "Well, I'm a singer."
I
and
was
then
La
they
Traviata.
connect. They connect the dots. Yeah, that's one of my favorite roles.
Is it?
Yes. Mhm.
Really?
It's because it's
As
the
apart
most
from being a mom.
challenging. Right. Of course. Second to being a mom.
So
right.
when you take on an opera, I mean, you do, from what I understand from other people that I've seen, just when you read the program, when they say, you do this, you do one opera for a couple of weeks somewhere,
Right.
then you do another opera for a couple of weeks somewhere else, and
Right.
one's in French, one's in German.
Exactly.
How does that work?
Well, it's difficult because you're constantly trying to memorize different languages, and I mean, I have so many different roles in my head, most of which are at least 300 pages long. So you really hope to do that same role again in the future pretty quickly, so you don't forget it.
Right.
But
But you speak French and you
No.
speak German, you just learn it phonetically?
well, no, I've had training in French, Italian, Russian, and German. I know it's crazy, but I don't speak all those languages.
What
but
part of New Orleans are you from?
Metairie.
Metairie. There's nobody in Metairie that speaks Russian, French, German, and Italian, I don't think.
You're the only one.
Well, I don't speak all of them, but I can
You speak them enough to
read
be
it.
able to do sing an
Yes.
aria and a whole...
Yes, well, I know how to pronounce it phonetically, and then basically I'll have to memorize what it means so
Right.
that I can act it.
Right.
But it takes a while. But I tell everybody, you could do it. I mean, you could.
You have to be pretty brilliant.
Jason-
You have to
Jason
be pretty
could do
sharp
it.
to
I
do
could not
something
do it.
like
Dude, you
that.
could.
I
I
couldn't
cannot
Totally.
sing in English.
Well, you might
Me
not be able.
neither.
You might not be able to sing it per se, but you could memorize it if you had to. You just have to really put
Oh,
the
you could
time
memorize
in.
an entire opera.
Right. It just
Well,
takes a lot of time.
How long does it take?
I mean, I've done it in as little as 2 weeks, which is crazy because I replaced someone who was on bed rest, and I did one of the hardest operas. It's called Der Zwerg, which is the dwarf in German.
You played the part of a dwarf?
No, I was the princess.
That's
I was the princess.
Okay.
Who received a dwarf for her 18th birthday. But
Wow.
but that was probably the
It's the kind of
hardest
present
role.
you don't get these days. very
No,
often.
it was weird. But
you
one of my
can't give dwarfs.
no, and she was really mean to
You
the
can't
dwarf.
even
It was
find a good
terrible.
dwarf to buy anywhere.
no.
Yeah.
I
Horrible.
tried looking, and it's.
Where would
they're
you
just-
buy a
they're
dwarf?
just
The
not-
Human Doing Party might have
Yeah.
a clue
They're not
about
around
that.
anymore. They're
I don't
gone
even think that.
extinct.
I don't even think the word dwarf is an okay word to
It's
say.
probably
No,
not.
That's
it's
not
all
PC.
wrong.
I think
It's
that's
all
like
wrong.
retarded and various other words you're not supposed to use. No,
Yeah,
right?
but that's actually the literal translation of Der
The
Zwerg.
dwarf.
Are they
That's-
magic in the opera?
Oh
Ro-
no, he's for real.
What happens?
It's because the princess has everything else that she could ever imagine, and so
Ah.
for her
Oh.
18th birthday, they ask her what she wants, and she's a spoiled, rotten princess, and so she wants a dwarf, and she basically is very mean to the dwarf. I mean, it was
This would be a great
It was
movie.
dwarf.
it was a wonderful
The Princess
acting
and the Dwarf.
challenge, but I felt horrible after every show because
what happens
Oh
at
my
the
God.
end? Does the dwarf turn
Don't-
into a prince?
Oh my
Do they get
gosh,
married?
He
Do they get married in the
died.
end?
he dies with a broken heart.
Oh my God, that's horrible.
So
It's
she-
that's such an
Terrible.
awful.
She seduces him,
Opera.
and then she rejects him.
She
That's
doesn't sit. No,
horrible.
it's
Not
nothing.
sexual,
It's
yeah.
nothing like that.
It's
but
not
Dwarf.
a feel-good opera.
It was
no.
just.
You just cry.
So-
You're just bawling
hurts my
tears
heart to
as
think
you
about
walk
it.
out the door.
broke
Why do
his
you?
little heart.
Poor baby.
It was a good growth experience for
Pre-Disney
me, I guess.
days.
Yeah. But
Somebody
anyway,
has.
German.
I
Yes.
learned that in 2
Man.
weeks, and
2
it was
weeks.
it's by Zemlinsky, which is a composer you never hear of. And,
No
it
kidding.
was
I guess
hard.
after the dwarf, who's going to hire you again? Where's he from? Zemlinsky. Is that
Zemlinsky,
Russian?
no,
or
German. Yeah, I think he's.
Where
German,
did you
yeah.
do that opera? Where
I
was
did it in New York at Bard Summerscape. It's a wonderful opera festival.
God, you must have some incredible courage
Oh,
to be able to get
oh,
up
I
there on
still get
stage.
I know. Was
nervous,
it the
but-
first? Can you remember the first performance in front of a huge audience that you can think of? That just made
Gosh,
you-
well, that was back. I mean, that was back when I was like 8 years old. I was
Oh, wow.
performing at the Petite Theater and
She was like,
Rivertown
I was a baby
and
when I was
Tulane
singing
and
to a sold-out
Jesuit
show.
High School. I did all those shows. So, No, but
I'll have
I
to
still
jizz
get
you at
nerves.
least.
It doesn't matter how much I've performed. If I don't get nervous, then I get really nervous. Like,
Yeah.
why am I not nervous?
And do you still get nervous, Sarah, as well?
It depends. I get more nervous in intimate settings like
Like
this
this.
than I do in front of stages. Because there's
Agreed.
more of a go to
Yeah.
work and less of a
Yeah.
bare your soul.
Well, this is very unnerving. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
when you look at the
This is
photos
very-
on our website or on Facebook, you'll see we're sitting around a little tiny
Very
table,
intimate.
shoulder to shoulder.
Well, it tells you a lot about people's personalities. You
Does
know?
it?
Yeah, like singing for my dad.
Yeah.
It's scary. And he's my dad, so of course he's going to tell me like the truth. Singing for our audience and selling CDs and being polite to tourists is easy compared to singing to your family.
Because you might never see them again. The tourists, not your family.
Maybe that's it. Yeah. Yeah, and you're like, they give you a tip and you understand. When your dad gives you a tip, it's like, baby, you really need to work on this. Like,
Does your dad know anything about singing?
he's hilarious. He's like the funniest person I know. He's just so honest, and he's looking for a joke at any expense.
Always?
His expense, your expense, anything.
I like
so,
that.
yeah.
I like that. I appreciate that.
Jason, do you still get nervous when you get on stage and make a speech or something like that?
I do. I get more nervous in trials.
Right.
Because so much is on the line.
And you're still practicing attorney?
I am.
Okay.
But yeah, so much is on the line. But you know, when you're in front of people and you're fighting for what they need, it's just like anything else. Once you start, it's about the fight and it's about finding success in that moment. So it goes away pretty quickly.
Being a part of the city council, it's kind of like, were you ever in high school part of like student council and stuff like that? Is that how this all started?
I was.
Where'd you go to high school?
I went to high school at Woodward Academy in Atlanta, Georgia. And I was class president, all that stuff.
knew it.
And at Tulane. But I was pretty much resolute in the fact that I did not want to be involved in politics.
Really?
Yeah, I was pretty
Not
sure.
at all.
You didn't want to be in
I-
What
politics.
did you
Sarah
want to
Jane
do?
didn't
You just
want
wanted to be
opera.
a...
Practice law, be a dad. I was just pretty convinced that it didn't work. It was locked and gridlocked and horrid and distrustful. But at the end of the day, it's one of the few places you can affect the greatest amount of change in the fastest period.
Yeah.
And so I thought I would try it. And I think it works.
Yeah.
But it's counterintuitive. You know, a lot of times people say, no, we can't do that. You say, why? And you say, well, we just don't.
Yeah.
We never have. We've been doing
You're
it
like,
this way
well,
for 20 years.
let's change
You're like,
that.
well, it's not working. You're like,
Yeah.
look, you know, our streets are broken and have been broken because we've never figured out a creative way to deal with water,
Yeah.
like Portland and Amsterdam.
Yeah.
It's not impossible, but we've got to do it differently. We've got to be willing to change and evolve. So,
Are you
So
gonna-
tell
are-
me this. You met the love of your life in college or afterwards? Your wife?
no, later.
Later on?
Later.
So you were attorney, and where did you meet her? What does she do?
She's a veterinarian.
And how did y'all meet?
White Litter Night.
So you
romantic.
might have been throwing back a couple cocktails, and you saw her, and you said,
Might have.
hey girl,
Mida.
how's it
I would
going?
probably know more details if I.
Hey,
no, I'm just
lady.
kidding.
And how long have y'all been together?
God, a while now. I don't know.
How soon into it did you know that she was the one?
You didn't tell me these questions were going to be this program.
Well, I
You don't have to go
thought
into
Graham
it.
would
You
have
don't
sent
have
you
to
all
go
the
into it.
questions.
No,
since
I thought I would marry her when I met her.
You knew.
I thought so, yeah.
She's the one.
Do you have pets?
We do. We have a pit bull named Waffles.
Waffles the pit bull.
Waffles.
Okay.
Waffles the pit bull.
That's a good thing about marrying a vet is you never have to pay those vet bills. which is
Ooh.
Oh,
substantial.
you pay him, brother. You pay him.
Are you going to run for mayor at any point?
I don't know. I've got a pretty difficult job to do right now. I want to get this
Yeah.
one done right.
But when does
I
when
like
does,
it. I'd vote
when
for
does
you.
Mitch's term expire? It's in a couple of years away.
About three
Oh,
years.
it's quite
and
a way
some
away,
change.
so he's got a way.
Unless he runs for
you got a way to
governor
think
or
about
starts to help Hillary campaign for
Oh.
president.
Well, so there might be an early opening.
Sure.
Would he appoint someone then, or is there an early election?
There would be a vote by the city council to elect the president or vice president of the city council. Wow.
That's going to be interesting. Well, there's a lot of interesting things going on
Yes.
backstage there at City Hall.
Can I pivot from City Hall just
Yeah,
for a minute?
yeah.
This is a political pivot. I just have to say that song was beautiful. And you know, Herman Wallace gained his freedom and died within hours of gaining that freedom. So that song, even more so, like the way it was haunting, and your voice was magnificent, because I guess you knew him, which adds a whole another component. That's his life affected me in a great way. The fact that he held on as long as he did, really just to get a few moments of freedom.
Yeah. Did you work on that case?
I didn't work on the case.
Well, I don't think he was planning on dying 2 hours after he got out of jail, but
He was in pretty bad shape for a long time before his freedom was even within his grasp.
yeah. But there was this case went on for a long time. I saw a documentary about him,
Yes.
right?
Well,
there was a film.
Jackie's really instrumental in popularizing his story because of Herman's house, the
Yes.
project to build his dream house.
Right.
Herman, even while he was dying of pancreatic cancer in the Elaine Hunt Correctional Facility, was able to instigate some reforms for how they monitor the health of prisoners in solitary confinement. So even while he's sick and worried about getting out and where he's going to go, thinking it's totally impossible. Like, it really was a miracle, thanks to Judge Canizero, that he turned over that stack of papers and saw that file and decided to act. No one knows. No one knows how this
Was that
happened.
random?
It was a total, to us, just waiting and waiting and waiting. This could have happened legally years ago. Should have.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things.
So why
that-
did he get found guilty, Jason? Did he have a bad attorney, or?
I mean, there's a thousand different reasons. There's cheating by the police, and there's cheating by prosecutors. There's a lot of pressure to win a case, closing a case. There's Reuben Hurricane Carter, that story, and then the police say we're looking for 2 Negroes, and Reuben Hurricane Carter says any 2, and typically that's the case. It's not about righting the wrong. It's about closing
we're
the
back
case.
at this point right now.
Yeah,
we're
we
talking
are.
about this now all across
are.
America. We see these cases coming up
Absolutely.
all the time now.
And
It's
the
very
really
disturbing.
The really disturbing part, because a lot of people go like, well, "That's not my issue. That's not me. That's not my family member." But your family member could be the victim of the real perpetrator, who is left out to reoffend because you just closed the case.
Well, tell me something then.
Very true.
What is it about human nature? What is it about someone who just wants to win a case at the expense of putting another part of the human doing party, is putting another human being in jail? What goes on in someone's
do
mind in the
some
justice
lawyers live
system?
with
Yeah, how do you live
themselves?
with yourself when you're that
The way
person?
that, and there are a lot of lawyers out there that, they just want to win cases and they don't care. It doesn't.
It's a culture. It's a culture of how you define success, right? I mean, we've got more people in jail in this state than anywhere else in the civilized world, but our crime rate is higher than any other place in the civilized world. So certainly we can't suggest that the way we're doing it is making us any safer. But the thought process that we're tough on crime, we're closing cases, that thought process it's a broken paradigm.
But we're not making any success in real terms if people are killing each other and we're putting the wrong person in jail for it. I mean, how is that helping anything other than making... That's what I'm saying. What is the psychology of a guy who's a lawyer or a woman who's a lawyer who wants to just put someone they know probably is not guilty in jail just to have a statistic that says we're winning when... I mean, what goes on in the heart
I
of
don't
someone
think it's
like
the
that?
psychology of one person. I think it's a cultural psychology that you need to take a step out and look at historically what we have to deal with in the South. And Jackie Summel, who did the project with Herman, is working on a website interface of compassion and punishment. And I did the music for it, and it's going to be up, climateofchange.org. Basically, you can look at the date when Eleanor Roosevelt decides to, abolish... Okay, it's really interesting to make so many parallels, but plantations and the way that they arrested blacks in the South right after slavery was abolished pretty much became penitentiaries. So labor in the South relied on penitentiaries, and all of the plantations that remained in companies relied on labor. So we're living in a situation that's much older and much more complicated than we think, and it's also a lot easier to understand how wrong it is when you can meet somebody and talk to them and feel them and see their humanness. And that's one thing that's hidden in all of it. We don't get to look into OPP or see into solitary confinement or know what it's like to grow up in these neighborhoods without books or pencils or toilet paper in the schools unless you go over there and look. And it's not like I grew up here, and as integrated and friendly as my community and my neighborhood was, all the other neighborhoods I was told not to go in by people of many races. Like, you just don't go there. And if things are reinforcing otherness on so many levels systematically, how are we to know what the difference is between acting in a way that seems culturally okay when it's actually really not?
She's spot on. I mean, if you look at the slavery system and you look at immediately after slavery, the end of Reconstruction, and there were sheriffs and justice of the peace that would snatch a guy up and charge him with the crime of trespassing when he was basically leaving work, headed home, and they would lock him up on trumped up municipal charges. He'd have to post a bond. They knew he couldn't post the bond. That person would then sell him to a farm. That person would say, I'll post his bond for him, he'll work it off. That person would then sell him to U.S. Steel or a coal mine, where most of them died, right? So all of these major, very wealthy men in the Northeast who benefited from coal and steel and whatnot benefited because there were people who were literally sold into slavery by another name, and that has never really, the prison industrial complex has never really changed. The number of black males that have been in jail is higher now than it was during slavery. And you look at the things that are produced in the prison industrial complex, there's a lot of money being made by this free labor.
Okay.
So the purpose is green, maintaining free labor.
Right. So how do we change it? What would be the one thing we could do to start the change?
Stop over-policing public schools, stop over-policing poor neighborhoods. I can tell you right now, I mean, I grew up, they were on Ferret Street right now. I grew up down the street at Tulane University. There were more drugs, good drugs, all kinds at Tulane University than any housing project in this town. But there's never a raid on a dormitory. But we're policing a people rather than policing a drug. So the drug war, in effect, is more of what Sarah was talking about in terms of how to commoditize, rather, human beings.
What if we legalize drugs? Would that?
I don't think it hurts.
Would that stop all this? Is that what it's all about? Drugs? Is that what people are killing each other and being imprisoned? Or what? There's a lot of people in jail on trumped up drug charges or wasted.
The murder rate's very low in Amsterdam. I'll just throw that out there.
I think what we're doing right now is the most effective, and that's what Herman said himself. Like, you have to just talk to people and let them know. If I never met Jackie and I never met Herman, I would have gone on thinking that bad people sit in prison. And now I have friends that are in prison who say the same story. I was walking home from work, I got arrested, they asked me for $10,000, I didn't have it, my mom didn't have it, I pleaded not guilty, but I got arrested with no DNA evidence, for et cetera, et cetera. Like, it's crazy, but it's not. It's really, it makes sense if you look at it. And look at Jackie's website, climateofchange.org. You can see the dates. You can see Eleanor Roosevelt fought against this, and when she outlawed this giving of blacks who are arrested to prison complexes to work on farms, when she outlawed that, it was the week before Black Friday. America has depended upon slavery for its success and economically.
Well, the whole country was built on
slavery.
Yes.
This is a huge national problem. It's not just New Orleans. And I know we have like a lot of violence and a lot of cultural diseases, but we also have one of the most beautiful cultures in the world. And it's good to emphasize like all of the amazing things that we have here too, and not just talk about the bad. This is something that we would be promoting and enhancing, and tourists would even, like, we could sell this to the mayor as part of the bring tourists to New Orleans, like reform the prison industry, get those 80,000 African Americans out of solitary, and
there's 80,000
in America right now in solitary confinement.
How many in Louisiana do we know?
I don't know the exact number.
Not that it matters what the number is, really.
It's higher than any other state.
Wow.
And I love the show Orange is the New Black, too.
That's a great show.
Oh, my gosh.
I love it.
And are the prisons owned by private enterprise?
Some of them are, and those are the largest ones because there's a lot of money to be made.
Right, that's
and in
right.
fact, we built more new jails in this country than we built new schools. I mean, so think about that. Think about
That's
the fact
true.
that we're spending
That's a
more
fact.
money to house people rather than spending money to
Empower them.
empower them to not go to jail.
It's expensive. It's like the Matrix.
It is the red
Sarah.
pill or the blue pill.
Sarah, we're running out of time. So what about another song, do you think? What are you thinking?
Are you guys feeling that?
I'm feeling it.
Yeah?
We want one more.
Okay.
What's it going to be?
Something kind of funky.
Well,
What are these-
everything's so impromptu.
What are these
at
sticky
this.
notes on your guitar about?
It's a Stevie Wonder quote.
What is it? What's the quote?
It says, "At the end of the day, it is up to you to perfect that gift that you've been given. Put your spirit into that song. Focus on the words that you are singing. Get into the experience of what you are singing about and sing your heart out."
Hey,
Boy,
nice.
is that true?
That's cool.
You believe in that too, Sarah Jane, right?
Oh
That's
yeah,
your
I
life.
need to write that on my
You can
piano.
have the sticky.
Now,
Sarah's
Sarah,
gonna give her sticky to
Sarah,
Sarah.
you know what? A lot of people would have that tattooed on them, but you just
My
wrote it on
tattoos
sticky.
are on the inside.
Oh,
I like
okay,
that.
nice.
I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, what's the song?
I'm gonna do another original song, and this one is called Wednesday by the Sea because I really want to go to the beach. It's also a ballad. Follow, follow, follow me. Wednesday by the sea. Sky of blue and eyes of green. All you touch is all you feel. Come rain or shine, baby, be mine. Oh, what are you waiting for? Take off your clothes and jump on in. I'll keep you afloat if you can't swim. Close your eyes and trust the wind. We'll bring you there and back again. Come rain or shine, baby, be mine. Oh, what are you waiting for? Oh, what are you waiting for? Forget about the weekend. Climb up to my door. All your days are in my ways. Wednesday by and by the sea.
It's awesome.
Very nice.
Thank you. You have such a beautiful voice.
Oh, thank you.
Is it easy to do that?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I feel like I'm not trying hard enough. Do you know what I mean?
Because
That's
it
the
just
best
comes
way.
natural.
Because you're that good.
But you want to be like more involved. Sometimes you just like with opera, you have to be super attentive to your whole body to make sure that you're letting it flow.
You're breathing, and yeah, it's kind of a different animal.
Yeah.
But you're so natural. It's
Oh.
beautiful.
I was going to
No,
ask if you were at the beach, if you were on vacation, would you pick up your guitar and play to yourself. You do that. Yeah. That's pretty awesome.
See, it's not the same with opera. Like,
don't do that at the
my
beach?
husband will always say, "Why don't you just go warm up in Central Park?" I said, "Well, you don't really do that as an opera singer. You just don't go, in Central Park." But
Do you sing at home?
oh, sure, yeah. It's mostly practicing though, and
you
my
practice
baby
at
looks at
home?
me like I'm crazy.
So you have to you practice by yourself at home.
Oh, absolutely.
day.
Could you give us any little
where do
any
you-
little
where-
thing? Maybe a little
like
no?
what?
Like
Like a high note?
Could you
If
teach
you
us
want
a
to
warm
Just
up?
like a ooh.
Sure.
Something?
Okay.
Anything.
So basically, one of my warm-ups. I'm kind of loud. I don't know if I should.
No,
Okay.
no. Chris will fix it.
Okay, so I guess I do. And then you keep going up the scale. Why don't we all do it?
Oh my God, Jason, you and I should try it first, okay? I couldn't do
Is this
one
your
note
note?
even. I couldn't even do one note.
Yes, you can.
You got it.
No.
Oh, nice.
So you're singing a harmony. At least you're in the chord.
He's
I
in
didn't
the
know I could do that. I
chord.
didn't know I could do that. I'll take it.
I want to get a little something going between these two. Oh, sorry.
Y'all sound
That's
great.
beautiful. Just one more time.
Again? Okay.
Just one more. It's just beautiful.
And then you just go up the scale. You just keep going up.
Wow.
Just keep going up like no problem.
Yeah, just
keep
going
going
up.
up.
Just keep
What
going
are-
up. No big deal.
What
no
are
biggie.
those notes? Do you know what those notes are?
I only have relative pitch. I don't know what that note is.
I mean, is that the scale? When you start
is
off,
Is it an E? Is it an F? Or is it a I don't know. I don't have perfect pitch.
so when you read music, you're reading a piece
is
and
a
you're
E.
practicing.
Right. Is
Do you
it an
know-
E?
Yeah.
Oh, well, see, I was pretty close there. Oh, I was close. I was right. Yeah.
Okay. So when you've got a piece of music in front of you,
Yes.
and you've got a job coming up in 2 weeks or something.
Yep.
So you have to practice this piece. How do you know what that note is? I mean,
Oh,
I know
because
that
I play
says.
piano.
Oh, you do.
Yes.
Okay.
God,
Oh,
there
yeah.
we go. We got
You
it.
left that
before-
out. You
so
left that out.
Piano, opera.
Well,
my
I play
goodness.
piano, but I have basically a pianist who will come and play the score for me while I sing along. And
Do you have a
that's-
staff of people?
my
She has people that follow.
Do you have a
I
pianist? Do
don't
you have
have
an
a staff,
agent
but
and a
I do- of
manager and all
course.
this
Oh,
stuff?
yes,
Do you
She
have
has
a whole,
people that.
There's an whole organization behind you.
Yes, you kind of need to have that
And a dwarf.
for credibility.
And a
but
dwarf
most of it, oh,
That
geez.
follows her around.
Most of it is word of mouth and just different conductors you work with, and
But they're not
hopefully
calling you
they
up and
like-
saying, "Hey, are you free on
Oh, yeah.
December 2016?"
No, that's what they do exactly.
They call you personally.
Yeah, sometimes they do. Yes.
Or do they call your assistant?
Sometimes they call my agent, but
Wow.
now a lot of times it comes through me because it's all networking. It's just
Right.
connections and.
So you're in now. Everyone's got
Done.
your phone number.
I hope
She was
so.
#1 in the entire
No, I don't.
world
I know.
for
Placido Domingo
singing
thinks
in
you're one of the greatest
LA.
singers in the world. So
Yeah.
who are we to argue with that?
I'm glad that y'all think so.
I do.
I'm in.
Me
too.
I'm in. She's gonna be the singer for the
Human Doing Party.
Human Doing Party.
Do you want to make a crossover record?
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I did just actually do what I consider a crossover record. It's called Blessings and Silver Linings, and it's an album of old standards. So it's like Somewhere Over the Rainbow and
love-
Do You Know What It Means to Miss
Yeah.
New Orleans
Yeah.
and
Oh, I love
La
that.
Vie en Rose.
Oh,
so
that's my favorite. I love that.
I do
song.
sing other songs besides opera, but
Blessings and silver linings are not two opposites.
that's the reason it's called that is because Count Your Blessings instead of counting sheep is on there, and then Look for the Silver Lining is also on there. So that's how I
see.
came up with the title.
So you have recordings. You can.
I do.
We can buy your recordings somewhere. We'll steal them like
iTunes,
most people.
yeah.
We can steal them off the internet. Are they on?
I
Are they
think
on
you might-
YouTube?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. I have
Under
3.
Sarah Jane McMahon.
Yeah, I have a sacred album. It's called I Thank My God, and a Christmas album called Night of Silence, and then this latest one, Blessings and Silver Linings.
Night of Silence, like Silent Night, but
And that's
sort
exactly
of German translation.
But that's exactly what it is. It's basically a duet of this song Night of Silence and Silent Night together. Yeah, so look at you.
I'm
You
right
already
on it.
know.
I'm
You
like a
already
music
know.
scholar.
You are.
Jason, do you have any albums out that we can buy of your
I'm gonna start working
Hits?
on it. I'm gonna start working on it now.
There's
Well,
no-
do a mashup,
speeches?
a closing
Yeah.
argument, and a speech,
Yeah,
mash
yeah.
them together.
Good idea.
We'll mash
Okay.
up.
I like that.
And And Sarah Quintana, you have records that we can steal off the
you can Google
internet.
me and go get them on CD Baby or iTunes and Vimeo and YouTube and all that.
And just before we go, which we have to do right now, but just tell me one or two sentences about this piece that you wrote.
So the Delta Demitas is
Yes.
out on DVD, and it's a fundraiser for Gulf Restoration Network. It was a artist residency housed at Studio in the Woods, which is a 2-lane program, and performed at the Contemporary Arts Center. And it's a series of videos using water to make music and interviews with botanists and people who know a lot about the river and about what we're facing as far as preserving the good and making the necessary changes to do that, and also what we've already lost. As far
This
as our
might be the super coolest bunch of people we've ever had
I'm
on the show, I
serious.
think, Sarah. You know,
It really is. There's some
everyone's
hard-
doing something absolutely incredible.
They're big time. We have some
What
big time
happened to
people
us?
in here.
We're just like two losers. We got to do
I
something.
know.
We
I
gotta
gotta
come
start
up with-
singing around the world.
Well,
We gotta
I'm
go
moving
to France.
I'm moving
I
to
have
France to
become
be an
a
interpretive
lawyer.
dancer.
I mean,
that's
my
for sure.
God.
Thank
We
you
have
so
some
much, you
big
guys, for
shoes to
joining
fill.
us.
Thank you,
That's been
guys.
Happy Hour.
Thanks
Sarah
for
Jane
having us.
McMahon has been our guest, Jason Williams and Sarah Quintana. 3 Sarahs and
Three
Jason. I think
Sarahs.
that's what we have to call
3
the show.
Sarahs
probably.
and a Jason.
This was wonderful. I
Yeah,
enjoyed
thank
it.
you.
It's been great. Come on back, everybody. Especially after you're the mayor, or we get rid of the police chief. Whichever comes
Heyo.
first. Our show is produced by Graham DePonte. Our associate producer and technical director is Chris Kehoe. Christian Unruh is our music director, and Joshua Brown is our music coordinator. The theme song that you're currently listening to was written and is being played by Mitch Foreman, and the fabulous audio quality of this show is brought to you in part by PreSonus Audio Electronics. For more information about their wide range of sound recording equipment, check them out at presonus.com. If you'd like to be on our show, you can sit upright for about an hour and talk about politics, opera, French labor laws, and anything else. Drop us a line. Our address is on our website, where you can also check out plenty of other happy hours to listen to, and our other shows. We do Out to Lunch with Peter Raschuti live from Commander's Palace, Mindset with psychiatrist Dr. Nick Pajic, True to the Game with Chris True, Midnight Menu +1 with Margot Moss and the Man Who Ate New Orleans, Ray Canado, and Louisiana Eats with Poppy Tucker. Keep up with us on Facebook, on Twitter, and a bunch of other time-sucking social media if you have nothing else to do. On all of it, we're called It's New Orleans. You can find photos from this show and see what we all look like on itsneworleans.com and on Facebook. Those photos are taken by this gentleman to my left, the fabulous, talented, and always gorgeous Douglas Engel. If you're listening to this show on iTunes, on Stitcher, on Swell, or some other podcast app that you prefer, stop everything right now and take a moment to rate and review us. That helps other people find us. Thank you so much if you manage to do that. Our show is recorded live today at Wayfare on Ferret Street, home of the handcrafted food and spirits, where they're putting fine dining into a sandwich. We proved that once and for all today with that awesome
It was
sandwich that Chef
amazing.
Kevin brought us. Happy Hour is a production of INO Broadcasting for itsneworleans.com. For Andrew Duhon, who is somewhere around the world, Sarah Reagor, who's sitting in for him. I'm Grant Morris. On behalf of everyone sitting around the table here at Wayfare and back at our INO office, thanks for joining us. We'll see you back here next time on Happy Hour.
Let's be honest, there are tons of ways to send money back home, and every company promises me the same things: good rates and safe transfers. That's why it can be overwhelming to choose a new way to send money. I switched to Remitly because I can track my money every step of the way, which means I know exactly when my mom will get her money. And with their extensive payment network, my mom can receive her money in a way that is more convenient and safe for her. You should check it out. Go to Remitly.com or download their app to get started. Remitly Inc. is a licensed money transmitter by the state of New York, California, Massachusetts, and other states.